Starting Zoga has always been kind of something I was pondering with for several years. For me personally, the transition from being employed to being an entrepreneur was a difficult one. But now looking back, I can never imagine
Going back to the but having a business also is a full-time job. It's like more than that. It's not 9 to 5. It's 24/7.
It never stops.
Yeah.
It never stops. Your mind is always engaged. It's very hard to fully disconnect, and there's no security, right? Because anything could happen. There's no just taking your salary and being sure of that. But those challenges need to be there, because then otherwise everybody would be an entrepreneur, right?
When did you reach your break-even?
Some days just coming home and I was like, what did I do? Of course, you question, you doubt yourself. And then something changed.
How do you maintain pricing that is profitable for you?
So for a while, I kind of thought I was done, because I felt like the time that I was putting into this particular business, I could use that time to do something else and have better returns.
Did you ever think of an exit strategy when you started Zoga? Welcome to another episode of The Forward Thinking People. I'm your host Namita Ramani, and today we are honored to have Kamelia Salimi, the managing partner at Zoga. Kamelia has a rich and diverse background in project management, interior design and fit-out works, with a career that spans over a decade in delivering top-class projects. With a bachelor's degree in building engineering from Concordia University, her technical expertise has been a cornerstone of a successful career. Kamelia began her remarkable journey by overseeing the successful execution of the interior and fit-out works at JW Marriott Marquis. Her expertise in managing large-scale projects led her to take charge of the interior design of the spa at the luxurious Plaza, Versace, Dubai, where she coordinated with various contractors and suppliers to ensure a seamless handover. In 2014, Kamelia took on a new challenge by co-founding Zoga, one of Dubai's leading wellness studios. Unlike her previous roles, Zoga is Kamelia's own venture, where she not only designed the studio, but also took the responsibility of running business and making it profitable. Let's explore Kamelia's inspiring journey from managing high-profile projects to creating and running a thriving wellness business. Kamelia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being being a guest and sharing your journey with us. I would love to start with understanding your journey on becoming a business owner, from having a career, a very good corporate career, to deciding to becoming an entrepreneur.
So starting Zoga has always been kind of something I was pondering with for several years. I remember kind of working on my business plan, for months at a time, and then, just kind of playing with the numbers and then putting it aside and just getting back to life. And again, going through that journey of, thinking, no, I need to do this.
How long were you sitting on this? How many years you would say?
I'd say a year or two. I mean, the idea came about maybe, let's say if the idea comes about now, and then you think about it, you're not doing anything about it, but until the time where actually things started happening, I would say about 2 years. And it's all about timing. So I like to say that, I planted the seeds, and of course it takes time for things to flourish. So I think it took about 2 years.
Okay.
And when things start to happen, they just kind of happen. Yeah. So you're just in it and you're making sure everything is, happening as it should. And I find that for me personally, the transition from, being employed to being an entrepreneur was a difficult one, in the sense that, I was in a very high-paced, high-stress corporate job where, I literally had to hide in a corner to have my lunch so that no one could come to me, because there was lineups of, contracted suppliers wanting to get things done, to kind of coming in the morning into the studio and just feeling like, okay, what now? So I did feel like, I was kind of losing my potential. There was a lot of doubt. And I feel also like we're very much conditioned we're almost like brainwashed to have to always deliver. And to transition out of that takes a little bit of time. But now looking back, I can never imagine
going back to the corporate world.
Yes.
But having a business also is a full-time job. It's like
For
more than
sure.
that. It's not
Yes.
9 to 5, it's 24/7.
It never stops.
Yeah.
It never stops. Your mind is always engaged. It's very hard to fully disconnect. And there's no security, right? Because anything could happen. There's no like just taking your salary and being sure of that. But those challenges need to be there, because then otherwise everybody would be an entrepreneur, right? It's not for everyone.
Probably. You need, they say to be an entrepreneur, you need that special gut
For sure.
and that high risk-taking ability, because initially when you start a new business, you also don't really get properly paid,
Not at
unlike your
all.
corporate world.
There's no pay.
When did, like, whatever you learned from your large-scale projects, what did you get to apply on Zoga? Or how did Zoga benefit from your experience?
Well, definitely the design and the fit out stage was, for the first location, which opened over 9 years ago, I just had such tremendous help from a lot of the contractors who had kind of helped me to kind of carry out the fit out at like, very, very reasonable prices. It's as if like everybody wanted to help me, So in that sense, I had a lot of help. And just, I just have a background with like numbers, and it's nice to have an idea and put it into place, but things need to make sense financially, which is also, I feel, something that a lot of studio owners lack. Because a lot are yoga teachers and their dream is to have a studio, but that dream quickly comes to an end when it's very difficult business, right? Because you need to kind of make sure everything is working and the numbers are making sense. So my background definitely helped me in making this turning this into a successful business.
But what other skills did you need to learn to make it a profitable business? Because interior design and fit out comes to you by qualification and by
Yes.
experience. But other aspects of running a business, like marketing, attracting new customers, hiring,
Yes.
teachers,
Yes.
your journey in this phase of business. We'd love to.
Marketing definitely has been a learning curve and still is, especially now, which I feel the market is just very different than what it was, 10 years ago. People skills, my job previously was I was dealing with contractors and labor forces at site, whereas now I'm dealing with clients. So that interaction is very much different, and also just how to deal with the teachers and the customer service, because you just kind of need to keep peace, maintain peace.
How do you attract good teachers? Because one of the important aspects of a yoga business is good teachers, because people are coming to learn from the teachers. And normally there's a pattern: when the teacher leaves, the student leaves with the teacher.
Yes.
Has that happened at Zoga? And how do you combat that? How do you manage that?
For sure it happens, because Dubai is quite transient. I mean, a little bit less now. So there's a lot of teachers that come and go. We have quite a strict screening process where we go through, we just get so many CVs of teachers, and we screen these CVs, and then we meet the teachers, and then we carry out demos, and then we start with covers. So there's like such a process to make sure that we have like just the best that there is. I have quite a lot of experience also in that field, just being a student myself and a teacher for several years. So I kind of know, and yeah, I mean, teachers will leave, but life goes on, and then, a new teacher will come in, and, things will change. But of course, when a new teacher comes in, it takes about like a month to build the schedule again. But these are just, I would say the main challenge of this business is finding talent and then retaining that talent.
It's any business.
Yes.
It's not just,
Yes.
it's, I think for all businesses, having the right team, having capable, smart team is very important to succeed
key.
and to grow, because as a business owner, you cannot be doing everything, I mean.
Exactly.
And in the yoga business specifically, you need good quality teachers that are really genuinely, because it's a very feeling based, because you connect with the teacher. It's a very vibrational space, right? Yoga, unlike a transaction. This is not a transaction. This is a practice.
Exactly.
What have you, when did you reach your break even? What are the challenges you faced in the initial years of Zoga?
I'd say that year 3 is when things started to really turn around. Also, just keeping in mind that, I started this on my own and I had very, very little money saved up. So I can't say that, it was my savings that funded the project. No, it was all loans. So, by the
So
time
you took business loans to
yes,
set up Zoga.
yes. So actually personal loans, because at that point
No,
there was no
sorry,
business.
yeah,
right?
personal, correct. Yeah.
And that was also, something that I was pondering on for a while was, do I get a partner or do I, kind of do this on my own? And I mean, financially, it's super hard the first few years. It was I just had enough to make sure that I could kind of like survive. I think year 3, I really felt like something changed, something turned around.
Year 3.
Yes.
So first 2 years were the struggling
yes,
years.
for sure.
And did that? Were you able to make your loan payments in time? Like, you were still investing in your savings, from your savings?
100%. And I had also I had just gotten married, so I had a little bit of help in the sense that I didn't have to pay for rent, so that really helped. Things really it was a struggle, but it wasn't like it wasn't so bad where I was like out in the street and I didn't have any food to eat. It wasn't that bad. That's what I'm gonna say. So things kind of, the transition and the timing of this was just perfect, and I remember like just some days just coming home and I was like, oh, what did I do? Of course, you question, you doubt yourself. And I remember like my husband just telling me like, give it time. He also had a lot of experience with businesses. So he was just like, it takes time, it takes time. This is like a thing at home. It takes time. So
it does take time.
yeah.
I think business is an investment of time. It's every next year is a better year as you get seasoned, as you learn from your failures and your experiences. That's how success is many failures, right? How did you choose your locations? Like for a yoga center, location is a very important factor. Did you put how did you put a thought process around choosing the right location for the center? And you have multiple centers, you expanded. I'm actually asking you multiple questions in one by one, so I'll slow down.
Yes.
Let's start with the locations.
So at that time, the first location is located in downtown in a building called Southridge, and it's a beautiful community. I'm not sure if you're aware.
I used to live in
yes,
downtown.
correct. Yes, and when I started to kind of think about when things were starting to happen and I needed to start to look for a location and wanted to see how much the rent was going to cost. I was just driving around and just kind of looking at locations. Yes, exactly. And nothing really felt right. I was like, this is like, it's too busy. There's not enough parking. You're trying to make sure that the experience is seamless for the client. And then I remember seeing this unit just down my building in Tower 6 as well. And then when I reached out to Emar, who is the developer, I just saw the unit and it was just like perfect. The energy, for me, the way things feel is really important. Like, what's the energy of the space? How do you feel when you walk in? And it just felt really good. It's like a beautiful corner unit, ample of natural light. So it was just like the perfect location I found.
Yeah. And when did you know it's time to expand to another location?
I just knew. So for a while, I kind of thought I was done because I felt like the time that I was putting into this particular business, I could use that time to do something else and have better returns. So I thought.
So you were questioning.
Yes, for sure. I thought like this was my journey to start, and then it was time to kind of like close that chapter and move on to new things. And then something changed because I noticed the market had changed a lot. Maybe like 3 years ago, I noticed there was a lot of like new concepts opening, a lot of new studios opening. There was suddenly a lot of money in the market. And I felt that if I didn't expand, Zoga was going to kind of fall behind. I felt like that expansion had to be done in order for us to stay at the top. And, eventually, when I do want to sell it, I thought this was just more attractive, So everything changed, and I suddenly one day decided, no, I must do this. And again, looking for a location. And so, yes. That's why the
And same,
expansion
you
happened.
started with the same exercise, driving around, and then you found the second location in
Yes.
DIC.
Well, this one, because a couple of years ago, my husband and I, we opened the pizzeria together. And the location that we opened was also in Internet City. And I remember just thinking, let me just reach out to the landlords to see whether they have anything available. And then they presented me this location, which was actually 4 shops that we eventually decided to knock down and to create into one space. I wanted something larger. I wanted the rooms to be bigger, which is one of our limitations in the downtown studio. And I wanted to expand the cafe. So I needed something a little bit larger, and I needed, again, ample parking, easy accessibility. And I just found that it ticked all the boxes.
Do you think having a cafe or adding the cafe was the right decision?
100%. I think it's a great support, both for the wellness aspect of it, because this is a lifestyle, and so it's not just about doing class. It's also about like how you nourish yourself and what are you eating, and also it's a sense of community. So you want to be able to kind of hang around before or after, and just connect with like-minded people. So it's super important.
It's good as a part of the offering, yes. But how profitable is it for the business to have a yoga cafe?
It's a great support. I can say for us, it's
because generally in the food business there are very low margins. That's what my research has shared. Healthy food, superfoods, they are more expensive.
Yes.
And then there's a certain fee you can charge for, say, a acai bowl or acai bowl, I don't know, whichever way you say it. So, and you have to also think about the competition, how the competition is charging out, and there's food prices going up and down that affects the cost of the product, right? Cost of the dishes. How do you manage that to beat the competition?
I think that, no, I mean, the margins are there for sure, but you cannot compare yourself. Like, for example, in Internet City, we have another shop next to us, another cafe.
Right outside.
Yeah, right outside.
Yeah.
Their offering is completely different. Yes, much cheaper.
Okay.
But I don't want to compete with them. This is not my intention, because our foods are our offering is so different. And I will attract those that really care for what they are putting into their bodies. Our coffee, they sell coffee and we sell coffee, but our coffees are completely different, and people recognize that. So you cannot, I have no intention of competing with, cheaper products. This is just not the clientele we wish to attract. And some come and they're not interested in what we have to offer. But it's also a great kind of support. If you're looking at the financials, it's a great support for times where, classes are super quiet, because, Dubai, again, is very transient. People take off for the summer. We have like such luxuries where people travel for like a month or 2 at a time. So we see that dip in attendance, and of course the revenues drop, but that cafe is kind of there to sustain it a little bit.
So how do you, that's my next, actually I was coming to the next question is, how do you then attract clients and retain them? Because you need constant flow of clients and students to keep coming in, because you have these teachers. You don't have one teacher, you have multiple teachers coming and providing different classes in a day at the center. And every class has its own type of audience. Like there are some people who would be beginners, there'll be people who are advanced, then you have other type of yoga, which is Ashtanga, which is a totally different form of yoga. And then you also have yin yoga. There's all these prenatal yoga. There's so many different verticals that you have within the space that you are in. So what challenges did you face in attracting customers for these different verticals and then retaining them?
I think the challenge now is the competition. Back in the day, I could tell you that we did no marketing. We did nothing. It was just word of mouth. Yes. So that, of course, takes time. It's an
plus the
organic
location, the first location that you had, which is
we
downtown,
were
is a residential community.
Yes, so there was more kind of footfall.
Yeah.
There was more exposure, not just footfall.
And the local residents of the area would be coming more often?
Would be coming more often, but it's interesting because when you start a business, and it's still to this day, I don't want to say a mistake, but you're just so optimistic. You're like, I remember just seeing just looking at these 6 towers in Southridge and thinking, wow, there's going to be so many clients. But there's just for people to come consistently, it's such a small percentage, and you just need to tap into such a large pool in order to have consistent attendance, And back then also, I don't know if you remember, but Southridge the back end had nothing there. So not many people were in that back corner of the building. So, that was an organic growth. But nowadays, it's just the market is so competitive that, we're investing a lot more into, our social media and into doing paid ads. And then the retention is the quality of the service that you're providing. So the way you greet the clients, how they feel from the moment that they step into the space, the class, the experience, the teacher, and then, until how they leave when they, kind of close the door and just walk to their car. So that's how you retain a client.
It's about the customer service, about the feel and the experience that they get throughout their journey.
For us, for me, Zoga has always been about providing you with an escape from your life. Yeah, because I think we all kind of need that at some point, either from your day or from, your mind. And also just the feel and the design of the space is you walk in and you're just like, oh, okay, you need that disconnect. Yeah, you need that disconnect. And so that's why also the staff that we hire, I always tell them, I'm like, the energy you bring into this space is so important. The reception, the cafe, because clients are here for an escape, and we need to be sure we provide that.
Yeah. So you mentioned about competition and about the pricing. So how do you maintain pricing that is profitable for you, and yet, you're not. It's not that discounted because you want to beat the competition. How do you come up with your pricing system?
I think you, of course, you kind of study the pricing across all of the studios, and then you study the services that are offered, the facilities, and see who is your kind of equal competitor. And generally, you'll find that there's always 1, 2, or maybe 3 competitors that are
matching your style and your values and your level. Yeah.
And then you kind of need to be aligned with their pricing, But I'll tell you, because we're as of now probably one of the eldest
yoga studios
in Dubai.
Yeah.
So I find that we are usually one of the first to raise our prices, for example, at some point, because I notice that it's time, and kind of we need to, because everything's just more expensive now. Yeah. So we kind of lead the example.
Yeah. And how was that taken by the customers? Were they okay to, because there has to be a little pushback.
There's always pushback. There's always resistance. When I worked at Emirates, my boss, he said one thing that always stuck to me, and he said, there will always be resistance when there's change made.
Yeah.
And so, clients may complain, but then they'll notice that, what they have nowhere else to go, because what we're offering is really of quality, you know. And then if they leave, they'll come back, and some may leave, and that's okay as well.
Yoga as a practice, it's very personal, and second, not many people. It's like going to gym. You get a gym membership. You are very excited for the first few days. You go to the gym. And you make time for it, and then life happens, and then you start missing 1 day, 2 day, and then you eventually just stop going to the gym, and the membership just goes to waste. I'm sure you see that kind of effect on Zoga, because it's a type of physical fitness, although it's a different form and it's more relaxing. Do you feel that happening? And what do you do to make customers come back and not forget their health and wellness?
For sure, that happens. I mean, that even happens to me sometimes, and life happens. And once you're, I call it, off the wagon, then it's difficult to get back into it. And then, unfortunately, when we go through difficult phases in life, this is the time where we need to practice the most, but it's also the time where it's the most difficult to embark onto the journey again and to, bring yourself back onto the mat. And, we just kind of encourage clients to just show up. You know, it's just a matter of showing up and stepping onto the mat. This is really the hardest part about the practice. Whatever practice you're doing is just showing up. Once you're there, then things just happen. Exactly.
Yeah. But how do you communicate? What kind of channels do you use to communicate to them? And what has been most effective channel for you?
So social media and newsletters for us is our main kind of way of communicating with the clients. So it's just constantly having offerings, workshops. It's just having so much offerings so something speaks to you that draws you back in. So we do that via our social media page and our newsletters.
These special events that you hold, that also must be helping in attracting new people and making the current customers look at something new and want to come back and explore something new.
Yeah.
Do you like plan a calendar for events? How do you plan your yearly marketing strategy?
For the events, you mean?
So, for all the different marketing activities that you do.
So we'll do, for example, now I'm starting to plan for the fall because summer gets pretty quiet. We don't plan too many events. We'll have small workshops here and there. And then we make sure that there's always something on the calendar. And for us, our events and workshops are always things that are offerings that are different from the classes. Yeah. So if we don't want it to be the exact same thing. So generally, it'll be either, sound healing, breath work, ecstatic dance, or sometimes we welcome in, international, very well-renowned teachers, which in that case, we need to plan several months in advance because we need to kind of make sure that there's enough attendance and we have time to promote it. So every month, we're updating the calendar. Every month, we're adding new offerings onto the schedule. So it's ongoing all the time.
When you started Zoga, how many of you were there? How big was the team when you started? It was you? Because you need yoga teachers to come and teach.
Yes.
Are you a yoga teacher yourself?
Yes, I am. But I was not teaching at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I was not a teacher at that time.
After having the studio, that's when you decided to do the teachers
Several
training?
years I just decided. But I also did my training not for the purpose of teaching. I just felt like it was for myself. And then once I did the training, I was like, maybe I'll decide to, maybe it's time to start teaching now.
Yeah. I again forgot my chain of thoughts. What's happening? Sorry, Peter. I asked you a different question. But you answered me something else, actually.
About the calendar that you had asked me.
No, after that I asked you about... Before you replied to this, my question was... Are you a teacher yourself? No, that was before that. That was a sub-question of the other question.
The team? How many were we?
How many were you in the team when you started? And then how did you start growing? That was my... Yeah. So we'll start again. Yeah. So continue. Yeah. So when did you decide, when did you know that it's time to add another person in the different department? Like in the beginning when you started, I'm sure you were wearing all the hats. You were also the admin. Or did you always know that when you started, you had a proper structure that, okay, I'm going to get a reception. Of course, you need a reception.
Yes.
And then you need a marketing. And how did you decide to grow the team, to grow the business?
So I've always pretty much done anything that's from the back end, scheduling, organizing. That's always kind of been my expertise. Reports,
from the
finances, everything.
From the previous career.
Yes, exactly. I just need to make sure everything is under control. And also when you're starting off, you don't really have a budget to kind of, splurge on these things. So when we started, we had four team at the bar, which was part of the cafe, and one person at the reception. And then our teachers were freelancers. So we had, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 teachers. And then we just started to continue to add on. So the more classes you add on, and we're always on the lookout for good teachers. That never ends. Yeah. So we always kind of, if we find a good teacher, we'll bring them in and we'll add something to the schedule because there's always space to add an offering.
Yeah. What was the biggest... What was the... Zoga has... Yeah. it's been 10 years. You have Zoga now. What has been the biggest turning points? Like every business goes through a turn, right? There's a dip and then it goes up, and you have these challenges and then spurts of revenue, and then you go. It's part of business, up and down. What has that been for Zoga like?
So I'd say once we passed kind of like the breaking point on the first 3 years, things kind of really turned around, and things were good. And then, you know, opening the second studio last year was definitely a breaking point in the sense that it was very challenging. You know, I kind of thought that we were just going to continue from where we had left off, you know, from the first location. And it turned out to be kind of like a new business, which was a little bit surprising for me. And so I feel like we're kind of like into that year 1 to 3 with this second location as well. We are going through that.
That's interesting. And
yes.
like a brand new, because it's a different
Yes,
location, different people,
exactly.
different audience.
Different clientele. And you know, Dubai now is so big, and because of the traffic, people will not drive long distances for, you know, an offering. And so that's why this area is very new to us. You know, there's competitors that we need to kind of compete with to make sure that we're recognized as well.
Yeah.
And I kind of foresee that things will really kick into gear year 3. This is also
year
what I
3 seems like
yes.
It's only for I think this applies to all businesses, because the first 3 years are your learning curve. That's when you are trying to do different things and failing and understanding. And as long as you're keeping it together, the business rolls.
And also, you know, it's, of course, you know, we have months where now, you know, now it's a little over a year that we opened the second location, and we have months where we're like, oh, this was such a good month. But what I'm talking about is having consistent good months. You know, this is what you're looking for, so that, you know, like you can expect the, you know, X amount of revenue, and you know your expenses are in check, and you kind of can step back and kind of take a breather. Yeah. So yes, year 3.
Year 3. And then again, it'll be time for next Zoga, another location.
I don't think so.
No,
I
for
don't
now
think
you're
so.
going to.
I think.
How do you plan to do scale further? Do you plan to go overseas, Saudi Arabia or other areas in the GCC?
I'm definitely looking to franchise in the region. But I feel like for Dubai, this is it.
Did you ever think of an exit strategy when you started Zoga?
No, when I started, no, not at all.
Now you think about it?
All the time.
Yeah.
Now I think about an exit strategy because we have several businesses. So, you know, we have Zoga, and then we have Lopo, which is the pizzeria, and then my husband has his business. And for me, the past year, I've been pondering a lot on the idea of kind of leaving Dubai and starting something new. That's really been calling me. So yes, I call it our, I used to call it our 5-year plan, but now it's more like our 3-year plan.
Thinking about new ventures, I think I kind of know a little bit. You mentioned recently you have been to a retreat.
Yes.
Would love to hear more about this retreat. And is that the route that you're looking to grow further into, the new venture?
No. So the retreat that I attended was a psychedelic retreat. So this is for anyone if you're looking to do deep work, deep dive into yourself, this is the way to go. Because it's just, it's very difficult because you journey for 6 to 7 hours, and you face kind of like your demons, your darkness, any situations, you get insights. You know, every journey is different for everyone. But you just come back. For me, it's like this, I was just thinking, this is the journey of like the caterpillar that transforms into a butterfly. This is really
new beginnings.
Yeah, it's just a transformation, you know. And I think one of the biggest takeaways was that, you know, we are not our stories, if that makes sense. You know, things happen to us. We all go through traumas or situations in life, and we kind of attach our way of life to these stories. These stories start to lead the way that we act and the way that we lead our life. And when you understand that, if you can create that disconnect between these stories,
then you can create a new reality, because then you're not acting based on your past.
Exactly. And you really discover your true self that has no stories. It's just blank. Think about that. Imagine feeling a certain way where you're just you. And who's you? Who is that person? But it's just transformational. And I just feel like everybody needs to go through this journey, because we all have baggages that we're carrying. Some have several heavy baggages, some are lighter. And if you're looking to just be a better person, to be better in this life, because I always ask myself, what's my purpose in this life? Why am I here? And there's just so many answers that come about on this journey. And this retreat specifically was really beautiful because we just had a lot of support. The facilitators were just very experienced and amazing, because you go through a really rough journey and they're just there to guide you.
Is there a reason you decided to go for this? You were looking for some answers?
I had a deep calling to take mushrooms. I think it's about 6 months now. I was like, I really feel like I need to do this, to the point where I had a friend, he was organizing an ayahuasca retreat in the UK in the summer. He sent me the retreat, and I said, no, this medicine is not speaking to me. I need to do mushrooms. I just knew I had to go for this. Stories, of things that happened in the past, where now I'm just like I just feel like it's so far behind, Like you were speaking about some of the challenges that you went through a few years back, and I was just thinking, I'm like, wow, that would really help, because things always happen in life, but it's how do we deal with those situations, and what connections do you tie to that situation? This is what makes a difference.
We actually suppress them.
Yes.
Every time something happens in life, any trauma, any challenge, any loss, you go in the grief and you suppress it. Or you take medical help, but this is a different kind of help, which is going and, being with yourself and kind of looking inwards versus just taking medicines.
Definitely. I look at it as just kind of like peeling layers. So this is, if you imagine that, there's this beautiful ball of light or energy that's your true self. And then with things that happen in life and conditioning, we kind of start to add these layers and add these layers. And the more we do that, the more we disconnect from this beautiful ball of energy. And this really just helps you to start to peel off these layers again and really reconnect with the true essence of yourself, which is what you are when you're born, when it's like a clean slate. So imagine having a clean slate in your adult life. That's what this is.
Yeah. And this can be anything. Anyone can achieve, try to reach this stage by different practices. It can be ayahuasca, it can be a retreat, it can be vipassana, it can be any other meditation practice, right?
Definitely.
It doesn't have to be one type of a thing.
So for sure you can attain that with different practices and different modalities. Vipassana is for sure very powerful. A lot have, I was reading a lot of blogs about people that have attended that, something I was very interested in.
I have done twice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I'm sure you also know from experience, it's very transformational.
Yeah.
I'd say that psychedelics is kind of like a fast forward and a very deep dive into yourself. There's no escaping it. If you're going for this, it's you're willing to go deep and to work out your issues. And then, of course, you need that daily practice to sustain it, because you come out of the retreat and you're feeling wonderful. But then, we need to come back to reality. Yeah. So how do you keep that essence? How do you continue? It's a daily work. So it's very important that you kind of either get back onto the mat, or you have the breath work, or you have your meditation. So that's also very important.
This is a different topic altogether.
Yes.
To go into psychedelics and retreats and Is retreat business or organizing your retreat something on the charts?
Organizing my own retreats, no, it's not really of interest. I do think of maybe depending on where I live, because I do plan on eventually leaving Dubai, but to design and build a retreat center, because I really feel the need to help people. I feel like this I have so much to give, and just going back to the retreat, I just remember going through a phase where I felt so good, and I was like, is everybody feeling this good? And if not, like, how can I make everybody feel this good? So having kind of like a Zoga, but like much bigger with different offerings, and kind of creating that lifestyle for maybe some people can come and stay there long term. So that could be an idea. Yes.
Interesting. Looking forward to that new venture whenever you plan to launch it. If people want to come and join Zoga, would you like to share how they can find more details about Zoga?
So our offerings are all on the website, zoga.ae. Our schedule is there. And then we have our Instagram page, Zoga Dubai, where we have, everyday updates on what the offering is. And so we have 2 locations, Dubai Internet City in Building 6 Oracle building, and downtown. So we kind of are able to cater to everyone. Yes, both locations.
Throughout.
The
It covers a lot of
Yes.
radius. Yeah. Fantastic locations. Thank you so much. This
Thank
was
you
a
for
lovely
having me.
conversation. Thank you for sharing your journey and going so deep into it. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Being entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, we are constantly running around trying to make the ends meet and do everything to make our businesses thrive. At the same time, we cannot forget our health and well-being. And having a practice, whether it's going to the gym or going for your yoga class or anything, or a meditation class, whatever suits your calling, whatever you feel like trying or enjoying, please definitely invest in your health and well-being. It's so important. Or maybe take up a sport, whatever suits you, to have that check on not just being that work mode, being in that work mode, and also taking time to invest a little bit on your health and well-being. Until the next episode.